She is a symbol of unwavering goodness. Snow White. Once upon a time in midwinter, when the snowflakes were falling like feathers from heaven, a queen sat sewing at her window, which had a frame of black ebony wood. As she sewed, she looked up at the snow and pricked her finger with her needle. 3 drops of blood fell into the snow. The red on the white looked so beautiful that she thought to herself,
"If only I held a white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as the wood in this frame."
Soon afterward, she had a little daughter who was as white as snow, as red as blood, and as black as ebony wood. And therefore they called her Little Snow White. And as soon as the child was born, the queen died. A year later, the king married again. His new wife was very beautiful, yet she was vain and haughty, unable to bear the thought of anyone exceeding her in beauty. She owned a magical mirror. Each morning, she stood before the mirror, gazed at her reflection, and asked,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is fairest of all?"
You, my queen, are the most beautiful of all.
Oh my.
That answer always made her happy. But as time passed, Snow White grew up and became even more beautiful. By the time she was 7, she was as bright as the day and even prettier than the queen. One day, the queen asked her mirror,
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is fairest of all?"
You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you.
The queen was shocked and became very jealous. From then on, she hated Snow White so much that her heart ached every time she saw her. Her jealousy grew like a wild plant, and she could no longer find any peace. Fueled by envy, the queen called the huntsman to the palace. She couldn't bear to look at Snow White anymore. She ordered him,
Take Snow White into the forest. I want her gone. Kill her and bring back her heart and liver to prove she is dead.
The huntsman followed orders and led Snow White into the forest.
Oh, how I love to sing among the trees. In this peaceful wood, my heart takes flight with every creature.
Do I really have to do this to such a kind girl?
He drew his knife, but hesitated because she was so beautiful and kind-hearted. Taking pity on her as she started to cry, she begged,
Dear huntsman, spare my life. I will run deep into the woods and never return.
Run away, you poor child! Hide yourself deep within the forest where the queen can never find you!
Just then, a young wild pig ran past. The huntsman killed it and took its heart and liver to the queen. The huntsman took the organs back to the queen as proof of Snow White's death. The queen had them boiled in salt and ate them, fully believing she had consumed the Snow White's heart and liver. Driven by pure fear, Snow White kept running deeper and deeper into the heart of the forest. She didn't stop to breathe or look back. Her only thought was to get as far away as possible from the queen's reach.
Whisper in the forest air, run the branches say, 7 miles. and scattered crumbs, little hearts that lose their way. I'm in socks and stubborn tempers, braiding laughter.
Right as evening set in, she came across a little cottage and headed inside, desperate for a place to sleep. Everything inside the house was tiny, but very tidy. There was a small table with 7 plates, cups, and spoons. Snow White was very hungry, so she ate a bit of food and drank from each place. After eating, she was so tired that she tried all the beds. Some were too long or too short, but the 7th one was perfect. She lay down and fell asleep. In the evening, the 7 dwarfs came home from the mountains. They lit their 7 candles. When the house was bright, they saw that someone had been there. Things were not where they used to be.
Who has been sitting in my chair?
Who has been eating from my plate?
The 7th dwarf found Snow White asleep in his bed. The others ran to see and were amazed. "She is so beautiful," they whispered. They didn't wake her up. The 7th dwarf slept for 1 hour in each friend's bed until morning.
What is your name?
My name is Snow White.
How did you get here?
She told them her story. Her stepmother tried to kill her, but a huntsman saved her. She ran all day until she found their house.
If you take care of the house and do the chores, you can stay with us and have whatever you need.
I'd love to.
She kept the house for them, cleaning, cooking, and preparing dinner. When they came back in the evening, food was ready. At dinner, the dwarfs gifted Snow White a new dress to wear.
Oh, thank you. This is beautiful.
The princess stayed home alone every day to do chores. She cooked, made the beds, washed, and kept everything clean and orderly. Each morning, the dwarfs went to the mountains to mine for gold. By the time they returned in the evening, their dinner had to be ready.
Stay alert. Your stepmother will know you're here soon. Don't let any strangers in.
One day, the queen asked her mirror who was the fairest. It told her Snow White was still alive and more beautiful than her. She made a plan. She dressed up as an old peddler so no one would know who she was. She went to the dwarf's house in disguise.
Fine wares for sale, exquisite goods for sale.
At last, Snow White unbolted the door and allowed the peddler to enter.
I trust her. She can enter.
Thought Snow White.
My dear, you're a mess. Let me help you tighten those laces.
But the old woman pulled the laces so tight and so fast that Snow White struggled to catch her breath.
I can't breathe.
The old woman said with a sneer. Then she made a hasty escape. That evening, the 7 dwarfs came home. They were scared to see Snow White lying on the ground, looking like she was dead.
What happened here?
They saw the laces were too tight and cut them. Slowly, the princess regained consciousness. The dwarfs finally knew what happened.
The peddler was the evil queen. Don't let anyone in while we're gone.
The mirror was asked again by the queen. It was answered that Snow White was still the fairest. When this was heard, the woman was shocked. The queen plotted evil again. She used witchcraft to make a poisoned comb. She disguised herself as a different old woman. Then, she crossed the 7 mountains to reach the 7 dwarfs' house.
Good wares for sale.
Go away. I'm not supposed to let anyone inside.
You can just look.
Snow White loved it so much that she was tricked and opened the door.
Oh, what a beautiful comb.
Let me comb your hair properly now. You beautiful creature. Now you are finished.
Luckily, it was almost dark when the dwarfs got back. They saw Snow White on the floor and knew right away that her stepmother was the reason. They checked her over and found the poisoned comb. As soon as they pulled it out, Snow White woke up and explained exactly what had taken place. The queen asked her mirror the usual question, and just like before, it revealed that Snow White was still alive. Undeterred, the queen went right back to work on her next plot. She crafted a poisoned apple, so beautiful with its rosy red cheeks that anyone would crave it. Disguising herself as a peasant woman, she set off.
Would you like an apple?
I can't let anyone in. The dwarfs forbade it.
I'll sell them elsewhere, but here, take one as a gift.
No, I'm not allowed to accept anything.
Are you worried it's poisoned? Let's share this. You eat the red part and I'll eat the white.
The apple was a trap. Only the red side was poisoned. Snow White wanted it so bad that when she saw the woman eating it, she finally gave in. She took a bite of the red side and instantly fell over dead.
White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony. This time, even the dwarfs won't be able to bring you back.
When the dwarfs returned, they found Snow White lying still. She wasn't breathing. They tried everything to revive her, combing her hair, unlacing her dress, and they washed her with water and wine. But nothing worked. She didn't look dead. Her cheeks were still rosy, and she looked as if she were peacefully asleep. They mourned her for 3 days. Back at home, the queen asked her mirror the usual question.
You, my queen, are fairest of all.
When it finally told her she was the most beautiful, her jealous heart was finally at peace. They placed Snow White inside the coffin and wrote her name in gold letters. Then, they carried the coffin to the top of a mountain.
This is the strength that doesn't roar, soft as milk, white hands on a splintered door, quiet.
Despite lying in her coffin for a long time, Snow White's body remained perfectly preserved, looking as though she were simply asleep with her iconic white skin, red lips, and black hair. Until one day, a prince discovered a glass coffin on a mountain, and, struck by the girl's beauty, read the golden letters telling her story.
I cannot live without Snow White. She will be my most honored and cherished one.
He begged the dwarfs to let him take her. As his servants carried the coffin, they stumbled, jarring the piece of poisoned apple from her throat.
Where am I?
You are with me,
said the prince joyfully. She awoke, and the prince asked her to be his queen. The prince told Snow White the whole story before making his vow.
I love you more than words can say. Marry me, and we shall live in my father's castle.
Snow White loved him in return and followed him home. Their wedding was a magnificent affair, filled with royal splendor. Snow White's wicked stepmother was also invited to the wedding. She put on her best clothes, stood in front of her mirror, and asked the same question as usual. Then the magic mirror revealed that Snow White was still the fairest of them all. The evil queen cursed in anger. She was so terrified that she panicked. She didn't want to attend the wedding, but she had to go and see the young queen for herself. The queen recognized Snow White.
Punish her! Seize her now!
Stop her!
Don't let her escape!
As punishment, she was made to put on glowing hot iron shoes and dance until she fell over dead. Snow White proves that kindness isn't weakness, it's a victory. In a cold world, staying soft is the ultimate act of courage. So if you were her, would you keep your heart open? Or would you fight back? Let me know below. Remember, your kindness is your power.